What's up guys, Ghost here. Today I wanted to discuss Battlefront, the expectations we have and the perceived longevity of the game. So before E3 came along, the hype train for Battlefront was going full steam ahead, and I think it's safe to say that the hype has started to dwindle somewhat. Of course, since E3 we've been able to hear what people thought of the game, who played it there. Jack Frags did a very good summary of his experiences, and then we've also had a closed alpha. I didn't get to take part in it myself, but inevitably videos were leaked online, people who stream the game, and I'm sure if you're somebody who's looking forward to Battlefront, you've already checked some of that stuff out. Now the gameplay looks very solid, like the gunplay looks really fun, and the soundscape of the game is amazing, but it seems like the guns are really easy to control, even over long distances, so they don't really offer too much skill depth there. The gameplay we saw at E3, of course, looked absolutely amazing. DICE did a fantastic job of wowing the audience for sure, but then that's not really a big surprise, because DICE are well known for making fantastic looking games and awesome trailers. Now obviously, as somebody who hasn't actually played the game, you'll have to take my opinions with a grain of salt, but to me, the game looks underwhelmingly simple. And from listening to what players have had to say about it, it sounds like they are of the same opinion. Now I know a lot of people are looking for a similar experience and level of depth to Battlefield in this game, and many of you have asked me, if I'll be playing in the Battlefront aircraft. I'd like to compare the jet flying mechanics to those of Battlefield 4. Jesse Cox, who is a YouTuber who attended the event, actually went a little in depth specifically about this in a recent podcast. So according to him, the left thumbstick controls your speed and your firepower, right? So in the X-Wing or the TIE Fighter, you get this little yellow bar which you probably noticed in the trailer on screen, and the faster you go, the less damage your weapons will do. Then the right thumbstick controls everything else, so you can roll slightly to the left or the right, but you can't do like a complete 360 or even a 180, or you can pitch the aircraft slightly up or down, but not to gain altitude or descend, more just really to aim than anything else. You can't really fly up high the same way you can in Battlefield, and people have said that the map is actually very small for flying in, at least in the Walker Assault game mode showcased. Then you have the D-pad maneuvers. So if you saw the trailer, you might have noticed that TIE Fighter sort of loops upwards and then down again, kind of similar to a yo-yo. So this is just a set move you activate by pressing a button rather than having to actually execute it yourself. Then you've got the snow speeders that can rope around the AT-AT to bring it down. Once again, instead of you having to actually fly around the AT-AT's legs whilst making sure not to collide with anything, it turns into a minigame of balancing a moving bar with the thumbstick. In Jesse's own words, the aircraft feel like a really simplified, dumbed down version of Battlefield flying. Now the way you actually acquire vehicles is different too. It's not like Battlefield 4 where you spawn in, you actually acquire a vehicle through a pickup, and then you call it in. So this means you're going to have even more random people using the TIE Fighters and X-Wings for some unintended purpose just because they happened to pick it up. And those who want to be pilots won't be able to, unless they trek halfway across the map to get a vehicle. To me, it seems like the vehicles are more of a temporary accessory or like a power-up that are simple to use rather than a way of playing the game like in Battlefield. Now another vehicle pickup you can get is to pilot the AT-AT, and that thing sounds terribly overpowered. It's basically an AC-130, only much closer to the ground, and just like the AC-130, it's on rails, so it'll probably get pretty stale to be in once the initial sort of wow factor wears off. I know a lot of people expect the game to have the same level of depth as a Battlefield title, since DICE are known for that sort of thing, or some expect a sort of Battlefield with a Star Wars skin on it, but that's not what Battlefront is. Battlefront is a much simpler game, and it caters to the casual audience, and that's fine. If people choose to misinterpret this as a Battlefield sequel, they're going to be sorely disappointed, but if you take it for what it is, it looks like a really fun game. They've done an awesome job staying true to the Star Wars universe. In fact, they used a technique called photogrammetry. So rather than building, let's say, a model of a stormtrooper based on the real life model used in the movies, they actually took multiple pictures of all the models used in the movie down at the studio and then sort of stitched them together to create a 3D model, which obviously makes things extremely authentic. That's why the stormtroopers look just like the stormtroopers in the movies. However, as awesome as the game looks, I do worry about its longevity. I'm not saying that this game should be Battlefield, but I do worry that after a couple of months everybody's going to be bored of it once they hit the skill cap due to its simplistic nature. There doesn't seem to be that many features in the game either. Of course, we haven't seen every available weapon, map and game mode, but from what we saw in the demo, the gameplay looks very simplistic. That's actually a good thing when you think about how bloated Battlefield 4 is with all the different weapons and features, but usually games that don't have that much make up for it in the depth of skill and the learning curve, since they're usually easier to balance that way. Overall, I'm still looking forward to Battlefront, and I'll take it for what it looks like. A fun shooter set in a legendary universe that doesn't take itself too seriously. But I certainly don't think it's going to be the best game of the year, or that it'll replace Battlefield in any way. So let me know what you guys think of Battlefront so far down below. Thank you very much for watching, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next time. Cheers.